In the heart of late 19th century Italy, in the small, rugged town of Pradapio, a story began that would plunge a nation into darkness and set the stage for a global conflict. This is the story of a man who was not born a monster, but who forged himself into one. This is the real story of Benito Mussolini. His father, Alessandro, was a fervent socialist, a man who raged against the church and the state. From him, young Benito inherited a restless spirit, a deep-seated resentment for authority, and a thirst for radical change. Despite his unruly character, Mussolini was intelligent and well-read. He qualified as a school teacher but found the profession dull, a poor fit for his soaring ambition. The classroom couldn't contain him. The world was his stage. He fled to Switzerland, living a vagrant's life, absorbing the revolutionary ideas of the age. He wasn't just learning about politics. He was learning how to manipulate, how to agitate, and how to command attention. He was arrested multiple times, but each time he emerged more defiant, his image as a dangerous radical growing. Returning to Italy, he found his true calling, journalism. He didn't just report the news, he weaponized it. His pen was a sword, and his words were fire. As editor of the socialist newspaper *Avanti, he preached revolution, denouncing militarism, nationalism, and the state. His rhetoric was powerful, intoxicating, and it made him a star of the Italian left. He was the voice of the discontented, the champion of the working class. But this allegiance was a flag of convenience. Mussolini's only true loyalty was to himself. The turning point came in 1914, with the outbreak of the First World War. While his socialist comrades advocated for neutrality, Mussolini saw an opportunity. He saw war not as a tragedy, but as a crucible, a violent forge that could hammer Italy into a new, powerful nation, and in the process elevate him to its leadership. In a stunning reversal, he began advocating for Italy to join the fight. His former allies branded him a traitor, expelling him from the Socialist Party. Undeterred, he founded his own newspaper, *Il Popolo d'Italia*, the people of Italy, funded by industrialists who saw his pro-war stance as useful. He served in the war, was wounded, and returned a changed man. The chaos and camaraderie of the trenches had solidified his belief that violence was a legitimate political instrument. Post-war Italy was a nation in turmoil, crippled by debt, haunted by its 600,000 dead, and terrified by the specter of a communist revolution, just as had happened in Russia. The government was weak, the people were angry, and the social fabric was tearing apart. It was in this fertile ground of fear and disillusionment that Mussolini planted the seeds of a new, terrifying movement. In March 1919, in a hall in Milan's Piazza San Sepolcro, he gathered a small group of war veterans, futurist intellectuals, and nationalist agitators. He called them the Fasci Italiani di Combattimento *, the Italian Combat Leagues. This was the birth of fascism. At first, its ideology was a confusing mix of left-wing and right-wing ideas, but its core was simple and brutal: extreme nationalism, a worship of authority, and a belief in violence as the ultimate solution. To enforce his will, Mussolini created a paramilitary wing, the action squads, better known as the Black Shirts. Clad in black uniforms, armed with clubs and daggers, they became his instrument of terror. They roamed the streets, breaking up socialist strikes, burning down newspaper offices, and brutally assaulting political opponents. They weren't just thugs. They were a symbol. The master propagandist portrayed this violence not as criminal, but as a necessary cleansing, a patriotic crusade against the enemies of Italy. He was building more than a political party. He was constructing a cult of personality around himself. He adopted the title Il Duce, the leader. Through carefully staged photographs, powerful speeches, and control of the media he was creating, he crafted an image of a new Roman Caesar, decisive, charismatic, and infallible. He understood that people don't just follow ideas, they follow strong men. He promised to make Italy great again, to restore the glory of the Roman Empire, and millions, desperate for a savior, began to believe him. He preyed on their fear of communism, their disgust with the corrupt political class, and their yearning for a lost sense of national purpose. By 1922, the stage was set for his final move. The Italian government was paralyzed, unable to stop the escalating violence. Mussolini saw his moment. In October, he issued an ultimatum. Either the government would be handed to the fascists, or they would take it by force. He announced a march on Rome. Tens of thousands of black shirts began to converge on the capital. It was a masterful act of political theater, a bluff on a national scale. The army could have easily crushed the poorly armed marchers, but King Victor Emmanuel III lost his nerve. Fearing a civil war and misjudging Mussolini's true intentions, he refused to sign the order for martial law. Instead, he did the unthinkable. On October 29, 1922, he invited Benito Mussolini, the former revolutionary vagrant, to form a government. Mussolini arrived not at the head of a conquering army, but by sleeper train from Milan. He had won without a real fight. Power had been handed to him. To see how this ideology turned into a dictatorship and a war machine, continue watching in Part 2. If this hidden story moved you, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.